Hi there, everyone. My name is Odalis Mesa, and my major is in psychology. Today, I'll be talking to you about questioning money and happiness. I hypothesize that there is no relationship between money and happiness or association between the two variables. So let's go ahead and get started. The articles I found interesting were in 2016, where we have Mats who showed us how spending money correlates with our emotions and how individuals may sacrifice pursuing other things that are more important to them personally to happiness than to consumption. This leads me to my next article, which is by Mogliner, who also has interesting implications. She basically suggests the difference in happiness levels we have may not so much be on how much money people have, but rather on how much attention people put on money. Lastly, I want to mention the article where we have studies conducted by Murison, Fulop, and Chamas. And their studies basically found that money is the main reason for work and just to have money in itself in general. However, it is separated from other personal factors and it actually does not lead to happiness or self-satisfaction. Now I'm going to go ahead and state my hypothesis. My hypothesis is that there is no relationship between money and happiness. There is no relationship or association between the two variables. Having said that, I want to now move on to the data collection. So I had administered a survey to 8 of my peers and interviewed one person to collect data for my hypothesis, and here are a few interesting findings. So when I asked my participants the question, do you experience stress related to your finances? 87.5% of the participants in the survey answered rarely, but one female who put every day. However, when I ask the participants if they feel better about themselves when they have money, 100% of them said yes. In the one-on-one interview, my interviewee also went into detail how money doesn't equal happiness to her. Because of the instances when her and her family were not financially stable, her and her family were still very happy. Being together meant more to them than having money. This leads me to believe that money does not equal happiness for either my participants or my interviewee. However, money may equal a sense of stability for them. Lastly, I want to talk about the limitations of my research. The biggest limitation was having fair representation of the student body. Not so much because my classmates were mostly psychology or criminal justice or sociology majors, but because most of my participants were indeed female, and I did want to go ahead and compare both female and male opinions. An experiment to test my theory could consist of issuing a modified survey to 50 people and at least interviewing 10. However, this could be very time consuming and it could be very difficult to find participants. And to conclude, the future research that I would recommend would be to improve some of my survey questions. I would advise the student to not be so afraid to offend when coming up with survey questions, as long as it better supports the hypothesis. For example, when I was making up some of the survey questions, I deemed some of them too personal, so I didn't put them in my survey. However, when I was doing some of my peer surveys, I did see that they put the same questions that I wanted to ask but was too afraid to. So I would recommend before completely saying no to a question that the student should consult more than 2 or 3 individuals before determining what question to include in their survey. So I would really like the student to work on improving some of my survey questions to better support the hypothesis and also give the survey to a wide variety of people. This concludes my presentation. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen.